Greetings, everyone, and thank you so much for joining today's webinar. Today, we are going to be talking about the STEM Ecosystem Product Spotlight, talking you all through the story of STEM and taking you through many of their products and solutions. But before we get into that, we're going to launch a little poll here because before we start, we want to get an understanding of how much you might already know STEM. So I'm going to launch this poll right here, asking you, how familiar are you with the STEM ecosystem? So take a few minutes and please answer this poll, let us know. And while you are answering, I'm going to talk through some of our housekeeping. First of all, this session is being recorded and will be available for on-demand viewing. It usually takes us about a week or so to get everything edited and available, but once it is ready, it will be viewable at shure.com/webinars. That website again is shure.com/webinars, and that is a great place to go for all of our upcoming webinars and also to see all of our past archive webinars. There's a lot of webinars across a lot of great topics on audio, so please visit shure.com/webinars. And then as we go through the session today, if you have any questions, please feel free to type those in the Q&A section. Type them in, be a little patient because we'll be answering all of the questions at the end of the session. So let's see. How are we doing? Oh, we've got a good return. We've got 81% voted, so we're going to go ahead and close this poll. Just one second here, and let's see the results. All right, so it looks like we've got a handful of people that are very familiar, but most of people here are somewhat familiar and not very familiar at all. So you are in the right place. We are definitely going to learn all about STEM. So let's close this now. So let's dive back into our presentation here. And first, I'm going to start by introducing you to our fabulous panelists. Today, we are joined by Ryan Budvitas, who is a senior sales specialist from STEM, and by Jamie Dost, who is a customer happiness supervisor at STEM. And they have got so much great information to give us today. And let's take a look a little bit about what we're going to be going through today. So on today's agenda, we're going to start with the story of STEM and talk through the solutions. Then we're going to talk through some target use cases for the ecosystem. We'll see how it connects to any and every room. We'll talk a little bit about customer happiness, and then, as I said, we'll answer all of your questions that may have cropped up. So without further ado, I'm going to throw it over to Bud. Take it away.
Thank you, Cheryl, and hi, everybody out there. Again, my name is Ryan Budvitas. I am an original STEM employee, and today I'm going to be going over, the STEM story, which I think is absolutely important and necessary to understand, because obviously all of you know that STEM is now a product line within the Shure's larger conferencing portfolio. We did get acquired by Shure, but that doesn't mean that we did not have like Shure has a rich history in audio, and so does our company as well. And so to shift over to the next slide here about the origin story. It is a little bit of what you see here is the big tour, and what that was our CEO, which, just to give a quick history, is STEM was ran by a father and son, both from Israel, and prior to STEM audio, we were Phoenix Audio Technologies. Some of you may be familiar with Phoenix Audio, some of you may not be at all, but we did have some kind of incredible, a lot of things that we did first in the industry. Actually, back in 2004, Phoenix Audio came out with the first standalone. It was the first personal USB speakerphone ever on the market. And back, we also had the first standalone microphone array ever on the market, which was the Condor microphone array. We had, the ability to have conference phones and daisy chain up to 15 of them. That was our Spider line. And prior to even Phoenix Audio, the dad and the father-son duo has been doing work with DSPs for 40 plus years. Back in the Israel military, was doing things for sonar for submarines as well as sniper detection, and naturally he ended up using all of those technical chops to start building us USB video conferencing products naturally. And all of this is leading to, we have this rich history of building audio products within this space. And, be perfectly honest, we would, compete with Shure in a lot of instances. But back in 2018, we were trying to figure out what we wanted to do next as a company. And rather than do what most companies do is tell engineering, hey, we need something new, and engineering comes back with a product. What we wanted to do is actually go out to the people and understand what everyone actually was wanting in a product. And so our CEO went on what again we called the big tour, where he visited, went basically around the nation, visiting end users, IT professionals, integrators, consultants, designers, architects, and had this 60-question questionnaire of what do you want to see in a product. And from that, we ended up getting tons of takeaways, which you will see on the next slide. But more importantly than these takeaways that we had, we actually came across 6 common pain points across all those different people, which was something that was, on the next slide, you will see the 6 common pain points, which was something that was very, very interesting. So these common pain points that we saw, again, across IT professionals, end users, consultants, integrators, everyone, was room design, difficulty in installation, testing a room, customizing a solution, managing a room, and also the training aspect. And again, basically people wanted to see all of these things solved, whether it would be like, how is it that I can learn how to spec a room properly? Some of these solutions that I'm used to involve high levels of programming, high levels of specialized wiring and things that I don't understand as an end user. Some people wanted to, like, how do I know if a room is actually objectively successful in terms of the installation? And also that ability to customize a solution. And also, I want to be able to manage my solutions I want to be able to manage all my rooms as an IT, a director of a company. And then also the big one too is I don't want to have to train my employees how to use these spaces. I want everything to be easy. And so throughout this presentation, we're going to really cover what all of these 6 pains were and how STEM actually solved them. So if we go to the next slide. This is the vision that ultimately came up from that big tour. We started to pull all of this together, and this ecosystem of products started to become at the forefront. And as you see here, this is a home audio system. It's a pretty popular home audio system that most people are familiar with, network audio for the home. We actually got a lot of inspiration from these types of products. Like this ability to have these building blocks that you can utilize in any way that you see fit. Whether you have, for the home audio, homes may be of different sizes, and may have different aesthetics, et cetera, et cetera. And with that, you could utilize the building blocks differently in order to give, your home audio system exactly what it needs. And we wanted to do the same thing for conferencing audio. And so the next slide will show you our building blocks. And these are the STEM ecosystem building blocks. As you see here, we're going to go through each one of these individually, but this is the whole entire ecosystem as it is right now. Something to note is this ecosystem is going to continue to grow and expand. We're going to continue to come out with new and exciting products. But as it stands now, we have STEM Ceiling, which is our ceiling microphone array, and it is just a microphone array. We have our wall unit with microphones and speakers, our table unit with microphones and speaker. We have our speaker, which usually gets paired with the ceiling, obviously. We have our control and our hub device. And to go into each one of these individually, starting with the STEM Ceiling. So this is, again, our ceiling microphone array with 100 microphones, and it does have a directional, it has the ability to have 3 different beam patterns. So there is some, ability to customize, but this is more of just it is different from the MXA product in the way that there aren't steerable lobes. This is more of just a coverage pattern that will pick up the whole space. As you see here, the different degrees from narrow to medium to wide in order to pick up different spaces. And if we go to the next slide, we also can see the different ways that you can mount this product. And so you can utilize a low profile mode, which would be a 2x2 square, and the unit will fit right up nice in there. And or you can utilize chandelier mode. So you can hang this down if there's more open ceiling concept, which makes this really, really easy to integrate into all sorts of different spaces. And if we move on to the next, the stem wall. So this has, microphones and speakers. And obviously this is placed on the wall. Something that is kind of funny, when we were going through all of the 60-question questionnaire, something that continued to come up was, hey, products have such weird names sometimes. And if I'm searching for the SKU, it's all these numbers and, names together, and you get one wrong and you're not going to find what you're looking for. So we wanted to make everything about as simple as possible. Legitimately, we had ceiling, now we have wall. And the wall unit does have 15 microphones, and it does have speakers as well as subwoofers. And if you see here on the back side of it, you'll see the connections here. So you have your main Ethernet connection, which your Ethernet connection is the most important connection in any STEM device. This is what is going to power the unit, and you're going to need PoE Plus for all of the devices. And it was also going to allow for units to communicate with one another. And then you also see, though, that the wall unit does have a USB connection as well. So the wall unit as well as the table unit can be standalone devices because it has microphone and speaker. Obviously with the ceiling, since it is just microphone, you will always need to be able to utilize our hub device, which I will also go over. But as you see here with the wall unit as well, you have a camera mount that comes within the box, and you can basically utilize any camera pretty much. As you see here, we have a Hudley camera that's going on top of the wall unit within the slide, and I'm actually on a Hudley camera as well in this space. But any camera, the similar form factors will work perfectly well also. So that is the stem wall. And now moving on to the table. So the table unit has 9 microphones and a downward facing speaker. Now that downward facing speaker, we utilize that design so we could actually have 9 microphones. So there's a further separation between microphone and speaker, allowing for the DSP and for the echo canceling to perform optimally. It is 8 microphones around the ring, and then the 9th microphone is in the direct center. That is not a reset button. In the past of STEM, people have actually done that and stuck a paper clip in there and have ruined that microphone. So that is the 9th microphone. And what that microphone is for is kind of to pick up, spatially where the unit is in the room, which will even give better ability for the algorithms working within the unit to work even better. And that's just something to note, as well as each one of these units has high intelligence within them. So it is running tons of algorithms with DSP chips. But something to note, which is different from Microflex Advanced, is everything's under the hood. So all of these algorithms are just to be worked optimally in any space. And as you see as well, you have the 2 connections, the same as the wall unit. You have your Ethernet as well as the USB. And that's going to be it for the table. And now we have our STEM speaker, which this is basically our network loudspeaker. So this is going to be utilized in rooms where you just have ceiling. And also, though, it could be a room like this room that I'm in right now. Say if I didn't have a table unit in the middle of this room and it was just a wall unit up at the front, we could utilize a speaker in the far back just to give even further coverage for the space. And it gets utilized a lot in our education kind of rooms that we do. And as you see here, there is 3 different ways that you can mount this. You can ceiling mount it, you can wall mount it, and it even has cool little legs where you can stand this just right on a credenza off to the side. So there's multiple ways that you can utilize STEM speaker. And that's going to be it for the speaker. And now we have the STEM hub. So this is going to be the brains of the operation, especially when you have more than one unit in a room. which is very, very important to note. Whenever you have more than just one wall or one table as a standalone, the moment that you bring in 2 or more devices, you need a hub in order to, have the room operate. And so what the hub is, again, it is the brains of the operation. So it becomes what aggregates all of the devices. And something to note about STEM in its current state is it can handle up to 10 audio devices per space. So whether that's 10 wall units, 10 table units, 10 ceiling units, or a combination of any of those together. The hubs do not count and our controls do not count. And as you see here, we have 2 versions of hub. We have the hub as well as the hub express. The only difference between the hub and the hub express is the Dante connectivity. And just to be kind of perfectly honest with all of you, I'm sure everyone is aware of the global shortage of parts, especially the chip shortage. So as it stands now, we created the hub express because the Dante functionality of STEM to begin with does not have the same robust levels as, say, MXA does. And as well as with the chip shortage, we wanted to be able to still, have these in ample supply. So the Hub Express is pretty much the only thing that's available as it stands right now. But mostly STEM gets utilized as a USB peripheral. And as you see here, you have the same 2 connections in the center, network connection as well as USB. And you also see that terminal block. So what that is for is to bring in external speakers. So you will have the ability to bring in, an amplifier with a 70-volt system or something along those lines, if you already have existing audio in a space. But as you see here with that USB, if you have multiple devices in a room, this is what is going to be connected USB to your computer or to your bring your own device system. It won't be the devices themselves. So with that is going to be the hub. And now for the control is our proprietary tablet. And something to note is this is an accessory. It is not necessary in any installation whatsoever. But if you are a powered Zoom room user, you can actually load Zoom rooms onto this controller. If you have a VoIP system that you're still utilizing within your space, which I know is something that is kind of less common these days, but if you still do, you can actually utilize our SIP dialer functionality. We are working towards team certification, and when that comes around the corner, we'll be able to load teams within this as well. But again, and it also is a pathway into our ecosystem platform, but you can access that platform via HTML. You can actually have your own tablet that you have purchased, whether it's an iPad or an Android tablet. You can load our application onto that and still have the same functionality. So it can be utilized, but it's not necessary. And that's going to be it for the control. And now to actually go into the software. So something that I wanted to do, because the first thing we're going to go over is the room design tool. And this is something that we can actually do together. And I am going to do that here. So I am now sharing my screen. And with this, what you're going to need to do is go to the STEM ecosystem portion of the Shure website. And once you are here, which let's just look at what you would see once you saw the first part. You can go into the ecosystem, products, knowledge center, all sorts of great information, but you're going to want to click on the get started button here. And from here, you're actually going to see this room design. I have this room design or these dimensions loaded up, but let's clear this design here. And we can click on the walls. And this room that I'm actually in right now is a 20 by 30. So let's load up those dimensions. And from here, we can add in furniture. Let's add in this table, and let's maneuver this to its appropriate, where it's actually at. And you can make this shorter and or longer. So this is a fairly large table here. And we can move this kind of where it's at. And from here, you can also do things like, say if there was like additional seating that was in a room or something along those lines, you can really kind of get down to the nitty gritty here and kind of add all sorts, whatever, you can outfit this room however it is that your spaces actually are. And in the walls functionality, you can actually add additional walls. You can have kind of out there designs if you have weird angles in your space, et cetera, et cetera. But our room here, we can actually begin to add devices. And this is something that's really kind of cool to just take note of, is you will see here the estimated pickup. And so you're going to actually start to see the actual microphone pickup in the space. And in a 20 by 30, 2 units are going to be suggested. So you could have something like a wall and a table to cover the space. You could have a wall and a second wall in the back here. And say if we did have a sofa back there, or the way that this is currently, where there is a big window back there, you can actually utilize a second wall off to the side. And this would be a situation where the speaker is actually not within this tool yet. That is being worked on as we speak. But you could do something like actually mute the speakers in this, so you don't have like this person sitting here experiencing something strange, and just put a speaker back here in order to get that additional kind of output in the back of the room, but you can have additional microphone coverage. So you can utilize STEM in all sorts of unique ways. And you could also do something like a ceiling in the back here. And you can change the beam pattern, so you can have a wide beam. You could end up saying, let's get rid of the wall up front at all, because you may not want something all on the wall, and you can utilize 2 ceilings. You could also utilize 2 tables, any type of design that you want for any space. And I think something to take note of here is that really, when it comes to outfitting your room, there's really no wrong answer when you're utilizing STEM. If you have network jacks at the table units, absolutely. We all know that if you bring microphones and speakers closer to the actual people in the room, you're going to have a better experience, regardless of if there's poor acoustics or great acoustics or anything. So this just really gives you an idea of what you can utilize, with this tool, and how you can build out your spaces. Regardless if they're small rooms, big rooms, any type of room. And with that, I will go back to the presentation. And so that was the room design tool. And now to just touch upon some of the other tools that STEM has. It's something that I would love to be able to show, but while in the middle of a meeting, I actually cannot run Room Adapt. But what Room Adapt is once you actually do an installation and you have the units within the space, you would press the Room Adapt button within the tool, and the units would actually send out a chirping signal. And that chirping signal, and then the microphones are measuring the RT60 number of the space, which is the reverberant signature of the room. And the units will calibrate to the space that they're in. So the units they will perform slightly differently in regard, depending on which environment that they're in. And something that really is important about Room Adapt is, in order to do room check, which is going to be the next tool here, which this was one of the pain points, which is to verify successful installation. And so after you have installed the devices and you've ran Room Adapt, and Room Check is going to utilize that RT60 number, and you're actually going to get, as you see within this little GIF here, you're actually going to see a heat map of the pickup coverage in your room, and you're going to know it's all green. You have complete coverage in this space, and it's a nice bookend to the end of an installation. So it is incredible for end users, as well as integration partners as well, where you say are outfitting 5 rooms, 10 rooms, whatever it be. You can actually print these out and have like a sign off, like this is this room and this is the coverage. So this is one of the pain points that we wanted to solve. And then another pain point was management. And so remote management is something that, whether you have 1 room or 200, or even 1,000, you can actually remote manage this from, if you're the IT director of a business, From your own computer, you can see every single room that you have on different VLANs, on different everything. As long as you have access to all the aspects of the network, you can see every single space. And you will know if a room is ever down for whatever reason, like did someone accidentally kick out the network jack from the table, you will be able to see, oh, what's wrong with this room? You can diagnose that room from your office, see, oh, shoot, there's a networking issue. And so basically, you can never run into that instance that we all have before, where you walk into a room for an important meeting and the room is not working. So this remote management feature is incredible. And again, whether you have one room or 100, you'll be able to manage this. And from there, we're going to go into some of the target use cases for STEM. And so, the core application is obviously AV video conferencing, and something that is important to be kind of understand where STEM fits within the Shure conferencing portfolio is if you think of, MXA as the ability to kind of tackle any room regardless of the complexity of the space. The ability to get down the nitty-gritty and go down and program to the most minute detail. STEM is more for your simple, more standard rooms, where it is just like a space like this, regardless if it's a small huddle room or a 20 by 30, or if this was another 10 feet, but it was a standard room where all I'm doing is video conferencing. And I just want to have great microphones and speakers for this space. This is what STEM is for, your more standard rooms. So whether it is room upgrades, large-scale rollouts, global standards, or obviously, the pricing, if you're looking for an affordable, more of an affordable solution that is still an incredible audio experience. And so obviously budget does come into play when it comes to STEM versus other aspects of our conferencing portfolio. And from here, we're going to go into some of the connection guides and to see how all of this stuff connects. So these resources are available on our website, but this is just a great idea of being able to see how everything connects within a room. So this is a small room. As you see here, you have a standalone device, as in the table. You see that it is connected to a switch. You see that the control, which again, it is an accessory, it's not necessary, that is connected to the switch. The computer is connected to the switch. And then you also see that there is a USB connection from the table to the computer itself. You have the camera within the room, which is connected to the computer itself. So again, the microphone, speaker, and the camera just become USB peripherals. And as if you see the ceiling connection guide as well, you have the ceiling and the speaker. So, and you also have the hub. So you have the ceiling, speaker, and hub all connected to the network switch, the computer connected to the network switch. And in this instance, you're going to have the hub connected USB versus, say the ceiling. You're going to have the, once again, the camera connected USB. And from there, again, you have just one big giant USB peripheral. Now, if we go into our medium-sized rooms, which you see here, we have a wall unit and a table unit design, and/or we have the two ceiling design. And if you go even to the large room here, we have one wall, two tables. We have a table, a wall, and a ceiling, which is actually how we've outfitted the space that I'm in right here. But again, you see here, it doesn't matter how much you expand. You're still going to have the units connected to the network, and you're still going to have the hub connected via USB. So even if we go into our classroom designs, which is a space where STEM has found massive, massive success. So if we do go to the classroom designs here, you'll be able to see that even with that, where if we have, say, 3 ceilings or a wall or these are the U-shaped conference room designs, and we also have classroom designs as well, which is even a slightly larger scale. But with this, as you see, whether it is 3 walls or if it's 4 ceilings or whatever it could be, again, up to 10 devices, it's not really going to matter, because in the end of the day, it is still creating one big giant USB peripheral. And something to take note there, it is basically how we've all been doing video conferencing since the pandemic. Every single person knows now how to get on their laptop, sign on to Zoom or Teams, and basically utilize video conferencing, choosing microphone and speaker and camera. So again, however you outfit these spaces, you're going to be able to just utilize exactly how you know how. So that kind of, that last pain point, which is training, there really is no training. You could have someone be using, however they use a conference room on Friday, STEM can be installed for a greater audio experience over the weekend, and they're going to be utilizing that room the exact same way on Monday. So whether it is a situation like a wireless keyboard and mouse like I'm using in this space, or if I had a bring your own device system where I'm connecting my laptop either with a little dongle at the table and or wirelessly, it doesn't really matter. I'm still just signing on to Zoom, Teams, WebEx, whatever platform, and utilizing stems as the microphone and speaker, and whatever camera I have as the camera. And so that is it for the connection, guys. And then I'm going to introduce you to Jamie Dost, who is this is the second member of our customer happiness team, but just to kind of also part of our story, when we were creating STEM, one aspect that we wanted to have was our CEO kind of made a bet on ourselves, which was we hired people from hospitality, not necessarily a technology background per se, but who had some technical chops. But more or less, that hospitality background was so important, because what we wanted to have for our customers is a white glove approach to customer service, customer success, and we wanted to basically have any experience, whether something's going wrong, because this is IT, this is AV, or to facilitate in between different aspects of the business, technical support, et cetera, et cetera. We wanted to give customers that white glove approach. And so without further ado, introducing Jamie from the customer happiness team.
Awesome, thank you, Ryan, and hello everyone. My name is Jamie, so I'm with Customer Happiness, and just a little bit about the Customer Happiness team is really, I come from events and hospitality. I did event management for about 9 years. So I worked with celebrity weddings, high profile conferences, and it was really about taking care of our customers and our people. So it's been exciting to bring that over to the STEM ecosystem, and Shure is such a wonderful company. So really, customer happiness is there for you, and it's anyone and everyone that is interested in the STEM ecosystem. It could be at any point of the way. Essentially, customer happiness is customer success, and we're there along every touch point of the journey. So it can all begin with, you came across STEM on the website, you have a question about any aspect of the system, you found the room design tool and you're like, hey, what works best in my space? So we're available, via phone, chat, on email. We can hop on a Zoom call or a Teams call. We can even schedule remote demos as well within our conference rooms. So if your team wanted to hear the system in action, hear a combination of the devices, then we can definitely get that set up. And essentially, I got a call yesterday about someone that was looking for 11 rooms, but they're like, hey, what else do I need? And I want to make sure, this is what we have in our space. We have a desktop computer. What else do I need to get the system to work? So I was able to walk them through each of their rooms, make sure that they have the most optimal fit based on the room type, and pretty much answer any questions that their team had about networking. So that's essentially, any point along the way, if you just are finding STEM for the first time, definitely reach out to our team. We're here to answer any questions, as well as we're your liaison within Shure. So if you have any advanced technical questions, we have those resources for you. And that brings us to our large scale deployment. So essentially that, we work with everyone. You could be a law firm that has one executive boardroom and you need the perfect solution, or it could be higher education where someone is really just looking to upgrade their audio. They have 200 classrooms and, they need to do that quickly. So oftentimes with our large installations, it could start with a quick phone call. And we'll kind of walk through that whole process, and oftentimes we'll start with a pilot room or a proof of concept. And we'll be your account manager along the way. Make sure that you find the best fit, the best tailored solution for that space. And once you have those units installed, we're available for remote assistance. You can walk through every aspect of the install, make sure everything's optimized and sounding great. We can loop in our sales engineers, our market development team to make sure all of the technical areas of the spaces are sound. And usually once we have someone that has STEM in one space, they get their hands on it, they hear it in action, they're really excited. They're like, okay, this is exactly what we're looking for. Then they choose to deploy it across their entire organization, however rooms that may be, and our team is there throughout the way. So that leads us to our next aspect of support. So essentially anyone that, has purchased STEM, anyone, maybe you saw it on the website, you're like, hey, I want to try out a table unit, you give us a call. We're able to help and hop on, answer any questions that you have, make sure that you have everything set up in the platform, make sure you have all the resources you need to have that remote assistance available. And it really depends. We have some users that, they want to do it on their own. They're like, hey, send me a one sheet and we got you there. And then some people, they prefer to have that full support, make sure everything's going well. If there's any advanced sort of technical issues that we see, we're the liaison for our technical support team. So we can always hop on and make sure everything's good to go and dialed in. And if there's ever a situation where we encounter, like maybe a device went down, our team's there every step of the way for the warranty support. So just to make sure that we can get the room up and running again as quickly as possible. And so, yeah, we definitely were excited. We have a full team. We're ready to support you in any way. So we're here, we're based in Irvine, so our hours are 5 a.m. Pacific time to 5 p.m. Pacific time. So we want to make sure that, we give plenty of support for our friends on the East Coast as well. Just if they need anything right in the morning, we have our team here. So we can be reached at customerhappiness@shure.com. Definitely send us an email. We're looking forward to hearing from you. Our number, call us at 949-877-7836. So we have a wonderful team and we can answer your questions right away. And then also on our website too, you can feel free to chat us. If you have a quick question and you just want to run it by someone, we have our team here too as well to support. So also we're happy to help with any aspect. We have a wonderful website with a lot of resources on hand. So if you want to hear the system in action, you can listen to the online demos based on the room type. But as well, if your team is interested in hearing a live demo, then we can schedule one of our conference rooms so you can hear the space and show that to your team as well. And the room design tool, I know Ryan showed that off, so we definitely encourage people to use that. That's one of my favorite things. I love kind of throwing in different designs and seeing what's going to be the best fit. If you want to run a design by us, if you have something that you were thinking about, we're happy to help and make any suggestions you might have. As well, our reference designs. So that's what Ryan went over too. It's just a visual to highlight the connectivity of the space. So we have those all available on our website, but we also do have a few designs too with external systems. So if you have like BYOD set up with a ClickShare, anything like that, we have additional resources. So feel free to contact us anytime.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you for all that great information, Jamie and Bud. I'm going to ask Bud to come back online here too so we can start doing questions. But before we dive into questions, I'm really going to quick launch our second and final poll of today's session and ask you, now that you've learned a little bit about STEM, what types of rooms are you most interested in leveraging? Do you have a small room, a medium room, a large one, classrooms? We want to know, what now that you know about it, do you think it would work for you? And while you're answering that, we can start diving into some of these questions. And question number one, I'm going to kick off, I think, because it's a really good one. Ryan, what microphone were you using through this presentation today?
Yeah, so I am in, again, a 20 by 30, and I am currently on a wall unit, a table unit, and a ceiling unit. And I will say this: if the poll finishes up, I can actually do a little walk around in this room as well. But yes, I am on all 3 devices.
Awesome. Well, that's a good idea. Let's we've got about 50% of the votes here, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll and share the results with everybody. And it looks like you all did your job, because there's quite a few all of the above. So looks like people are seeing how STEM can definitely be deployed in all of their rooms for all of their needs. All right, so let me hide that, and then go ahead, Bud, if you want to show us a little bit of,
No, absolutely. And and this camera does an auto framing, so it does kind of take a little bit of time to kind of frame me, but you can still see me. And this is me, I'm 30 feet away from the screen and from the wall unit here. And something to kind of take note of is, the coverage and my voice is not going to change due to the automatic gain control in this room. And I can even, speak towards the wall here, and I'm looking in the back. They're doing some construction upstairs, and I think they have just a trash truck back here, watching some guy do that. But this is the space. So I'm, technically getting picked up, you could say, more by the ceiling in this moment, but there's always a mixture that's happening within this room at all times, whether I'm getting picked up now by both the ceiling and the table unit in the center, or now that I'm walking more towards the front where I'm getting picked up by the table unit and the wall. There's always a blending that's happening to give the best sounding regardless of who's in the space and who's talking currently. So
fantastic.
You should see.
Yeah, you can. It's so nice to know that you can stare out into the windows and still be picked up clearly as you're motivationally speaking. I love it.
Yes.
All right. Next question. I know you did touch on this, but I'll bring it up again just because I think it is an important point. When is the hub required?
Yes. So it is required when you have more than one audio device. So if you have, like in this space with the wall, table, ceiling, obviously you're going to need it. In a less obvious situation would be, you have a ceiling and a speaker. So you're like, oh, I only have one microphone. But because you need that speaker in the room, or if you need external audio or to be able to connect to a system that already has speakers in the room, you're still going to need the hub in order to connect to that terminal block and connect to that amplifier. And then there's other situations like, say, in education where they have existing speakers and they just want to use just one wall unit. Well, in that instance, in order to connect to those external speakers, even though you have one wall unit, you're still going to want to utilize the hub in order to bring all those together. Or there's also situations where, say, if the computer is in an equipment closet off to the back side of the room, and that's where the computer is, right? And you have a wall unit up at the front. You could use a USB extender, but in order to have a high quality USB extender, you're most likely rather just buy a hub and just put that over by the computer. So it can be utilized kind of in that fashion as well. So when it is required is when you have more than one audio device, but when it can be used is for all sorts of different use cases.
Fantastic, great. All right, next question. Are there special networking requirements for all connected STEM devices?
Jamie, I'll let you take this one.
Perfect. Yeah, so all of our STEM devices, they do require PoE Plus for power, and then they do require DHCP for data. So all of our units do communicate over the network. So essentially, it could be done either on an enterprise network. As best practices, we recommend doing a dedicated AV VLAN with MAC address reservations for the units. However, we do understand that there are networks that don't allow external devices to be added, or they're very locked down. So you can do an isolated network with a home router. We do see that oftentimes if the network isn't available. So essentially, that would provide the DHCP a gateway, and the units have their IP addresses. They communicate over the network. A A question that we get asked often is if we have link local. So currently we do not, but that's solved with using just a home router, and that'll be sufficient.
Fantastic, awesome. Thank you, Jamie. All right, next question. Are there any issues or problems with using an outboard amplifier in existing speakers when retrofitting STEM into a room, or do you have to use the STEM speakers? And I know, Ryan, you did touch on this a little bit in the presentation.
Absolutely, yeah, but that is actually a great thing to bring up where, so again, say if the design called for in that room a wall unit and a table unit, right? Like there was a network jack at the table. So obviously you have the table unit speaker as well as the wall unit speakers, but you already have existing audio that you want to bring into that system. So you're going to want to connect that amplifier to the hub. Now you have the ability to choose, because within the platform you can actually mute all individual devices. So you could say, I'm going to mute. You could be like, all right, let's see what it sounds like with all the speakers firing. Or you could be like, let's mute the table and see what the overhead as well as the wall unit speakers, how does that sound? Or you could just mute the wall unit speakers, the table unit speaker as well, and then just have your existing audio playing. So it does give you a lot of flexibility with that ability to mute devices within a room. So that is how you would tackle that situation.
Fantastic, love it. All right, next question. Are there any other interoperability options? Ooh, man, I really tripped over that one. Interoperability options out there for interfacing STEM products with other systems such as Cisco room kits and the like?
Jamie, I'll let you take this one too. You dealt with this.
Yeah, so I mean that definitely we're happy to walk through. You know, if there's a specific design that you have for that Cisco room kit, we can walk through any sort of specifications that you have in your space. But essentially, you know, as Ryan mentioned, STEM is a large USB peripheral, microphone and speaker. So if any of these sort of room kits, they have a USB port, then the hub will be USB to those computers. You'll program the ecosystem, you set up your organization, pair your devices, and build your virtual room. And then from there, you just select the STEM hub as your microphone and speaker source, and you're good to go. So as long as there's a USB port, for the most part, STEM it's going to connect. It's going to be that USB peripheral. But if there's any specific questions, or if you have any sort of unique installation aspects within your room, we're definitely happy to run that through and make sure everything's solid and good to go.
Yeah, and just to add on to that as well, so there are going to be situations where that interoperability is not going to happen with STEM. And this is a situation where within the Shure conferencing portfolio overall, we have a tool for every single instance. So if it is not a STEM room, which might be a question that comes up, like a perfect instance where STEM, you know, no longer makes sense is if you need, you know, a presenter microphone to be heard locally within a space. The moment that you need that, or if you have a system that is kind of, you need to be doing, you know, some discrete recording, or you need to, you know, have it be connected to a larger Dante network. This is where we're going to be utilizing the Microflex system versus STEM. But with any of those questions that you have, give us a call. We'll get on the horn with you with our, you know, technical sales engineer, and we'll go over all the different ways that you can go about. Because, you know, any room, you know, a room like this size could be very, very complicated, or it could be very simple like this is in standard. So I just wanted to kind of add that on to that as well.
Fantastic. All right. Next question. What is the range of the microphones on the sound bar?
So it's kind of it's not a trick question, but it's going to be very dependent on the acoustics of the room. As I was walking around this space, you could see, I mean, there are windows, glass. So this is really like kind of a standard conference room where, yeah, there's some carpet and a drop ceiling, but the acoustics are good. They're not great. They're not poor, but it's pretty standard, you know. And in this room, you know, technically, like one wall unit could cover the whole space. But when you utilize our room design tool, as you'll see, there are the estimates that it shows. It is a very conservative estimate, and the reason why we do that is you can put the unit in a terribly acoustic room and it's still going to cover that 15 to 20 feet. But in certain instances, you could have it could have a larger pickup than that, but it's going to be so dependent on individual situations. I can't really give you just this is the answer always, all the time. And that's the same for our table as well as our ceiling. Because again, the way that we utilize the algorithms and do automatic gain control, like there are situations where these pick up pretty good. But with that though, again, that'd be a scenario where give us a call, let us know your situation. And the beauty of STEM is you can always start with one unit. And if you need it, you just get a hub and another one and add it to the space. So that's the beauty of it as well.
A nice scalable solution. Gotta love it. All right, looks like the last question. So if you have any other questions, get them in now. Regarding the conference room examples, why would you need to connect some of those devices with both Ethernet and USB?
Yes, so in the instance, when you have more than one unit in the room, as you remember with those designs, the hub is involved. So whether it's a single standalone system where if there's just one wall unit in here, the wall unit would be connected power for Ethernet. I mean, that's where it's going to get its power from, regardless if it's a standalone or within a larger system, PoE plus, and it's going to then have USB connection directly to your computer. So in that instance, the wall unit would be USB and Ethernet for power. But in an instance where you had more than one unit in the room, then it would be like in this room right now, the wall, table, ceiling are all just connected with just one single Ethernet cord back to a switch. So they're all getting power over Ethernet and they're communicating with each other over that same connection. Now, in this instance, in this room, the hub, which is also connected to the network, is going to be your USB connection to the computer. And this has all happened behind this large display that I have in this room. And again, with STEM being one giant USB peripheral, there's going to need to be a USB connection somewhere in the mix, regardless if it's a standalone device and that's going to be connected USB, or if it's the hub and multiple units and that hub's going to be connected USB. You're still going to always there's going to be one device that has an Ethernet connection and a USB connection, whether that's a standalone device or the hub. So I hope that answers that. And then also just to retouch on it, whether it's a dedicated PC with a wireless keyboard and mouse, whether it's a scenario where you're utilizing a Zoom room, you don't have a wireless keyboard and mouse, but you just have a touch panel, whether that's ours and or another touch panel that you're utilizing. There's still a computer in that. Or if it's a bring your own device system where there is some type of USB hub and there's a dongle at the table or a wireless system like the Barcode ClickShare, that USB connection is still going to be connected to something in order to utilize the STEM system for all of your conferencing needs. So I hope that answers that.
Great, awesome, thank you. Next question, are there any other cameras you would recommend aside from Hudley taking into potential supply chain issues?
Honestly, any USB camera is going to work. So we have a relationship with Hudley. We've used Aver as well, but anything, HuddleCam, PTZ Optics, Logitech Rally, any camera really will work. Because like we are a USB connection, and the camera is going to be a USB connection to that computer. So just treat it like you would, your laptop. Do you have a headset that you have plugged in, and do you have a little a webcam? Are you using the internal camera on your laptop? It really is. You're just choosing, microphone and speaker and your camera. So it can be any camera, and anyone's going to work. And you can even utilize it in a more extensive system where you have dual cameras and you have, whether it's a software platform or another piece of hardware that's combining those within Zoom and Teams, so you see that view. We've seen that a lot too. But again, it is going to be a separate system than from ours. So whatever camera you want to use, as long as it's USB, it's going to work seamlessly with our system.
Fantastic. All right. And with that, I think we have gotten through all of the questions. I'm going to really quick just scooch back in the presentation here to that great page where we have the contact information for the customer happiness team, Claire and her team over at STEM. I think this is great. If you have any other questions or you want to start talking to someone about this, this is a great way to get in touch with the team and take those first steps and learn a little bit more. And it looks like, while I have this screen up, a late breaking question has popped in, so I'll go ahead and ask that one. Could the STEM mics be used with Dante analog out to a DSP and not using the USB connection?
So that is something that's like, I'd love to talk with you about your scenario separately. So if you wanted to put your contact information in that Q&A, we'll go over that. The answer to that is yes, technically you could do that, but there are some caveats. And then there's also, you know, the supply issue of, I'm not even sure if we have any of the hub, the original hub with that Dante capability in stock still. So that's just something that we should talk about separately.
Fantastic. All right. I think that just about wraps it up. Thank you so much for joining me today, Bud and Jamie, on all your great information. We hope everybody learned a little something. I know I certainly did, and we hope to see you on the next webinar. Have a great week, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.